How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, August 21st, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to do a first-time Elite to GOAT profile as Robert Lewandowski, the Polish striker for Bayern Munich. I'm going to do his very first GOAT profile. The first time I did his profile, I did an Elite profile for him, and in between then and now, he has set the Bundesliga record for goals in a season. Not to mention, he also helped lead Bayern Munich to the Champions League final win. So, of course, with all that he's done in the past year, I think that he has done what is needed to be done to leap from elite status to GOAT status. If you're unfamiliar with Robert Lewandowski, he is the 6'1" Polish center forward or striker for Bayern Munich. And he's just one of the most prolific goal scorers of our time. Obviously, you have players like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, which define an entire era, an entire generation. But at the same time, we cannot ignore what Robert Lewandowski has been doing right now. And over quarantine, despite the fact that he wasn't allowed to be given the Ballon d'Or, this man is racking up all the hardware that a single person can actually rack up at this point in their careers. And I think even with Messi going to PSG, a lot of eyes are going to be in Paris, but people are not going to take their eyes off of Robert Lewandowski. That is how dynamic, that is how just that is just how important he is to this entire team. And I'm just going to get into what makes Robert Lewandowski one of the most well-rounded attackers that has ever played soccer. So he's originally from Warsaw, Poland. So, of course, he would get his start in Poland playing for Polish clubs. He would find his way making his debut in 2005 with Delta Warsaw, which was, of course, one of the smaller clubs for Warsaw when he was a teenager, 2005, back when he was 16, 17 years old. He would find his way on Legia Warsaw, then Znik Pruskow. Pruskow would be the first team that he would actually play and sign up for. He would eventually be the top goal scorers on the team, as he would and he would be the Polish third division's top goal scorer, helping them or scoring with 15 goals to help them get promoted in his first season. And the second highest league in Poland, he was able to help his club score 21 goals and help them, or at least he was the top goal in the second division of Poland as well, to establish himself as the best scorer in Poland before he actually got moved up and played with Lech Poznan. Lech Poznan was the top team in Poland, but even before he got there, he had 36 goals in 59 games with Pruskow. But moving to Lech Poznan, as in his age 19 season, he would go on to start 27 of the 30 games that he would play for the third best team in Poland at the time, and he would finish with 14 goals and 3 assists. Mind you, he was a teenager at the time, and then not to mention that he was one of the leading scorers. He wasn't the leading scorer, but considering he scored double digits right off the bat is a sign that this man was off to some incredible stuff. And not to mention that he did go on to officially qualify for the Polish national team once he officially debuted with Lech Poznan. So just to give a sense of where he had been in his career, because his agent had offered him to a couple of La Liga teams, but he had decided to stay in Lech Poznan for a year. And of course, that first year would end up doing wonders for the club itself. They would go on to win the Polish Cup that year. That's the only trophy that they would bring home in the trophy case. But following that season, Robert Lewandowski would come back for his final season in Poland in 2009-2010 in what would be his age 20 season. Robert Lewandowski would start all 28 of the matches he would play for a team that would end up winning the Ekstraklasa, which is the Polish league. He finished with 18 goals and 4 assists, as he would go on to first lead the entire Polish league in scoring. He would help, of course, the team win the Polish championship, and they also won the Polish Super Cup at the beginning of the year, just to of course flex that muscle as well, to take home another trophy for the trophy case. And of course, as a 20-year-old turning 21, scoring 18 goals, it would, of course, put him on the radar of a bunch of other clubs around Europe, of course, catching the eye of a club that's most definitely known for taking some of the best young talent around Europe and making it their own, Borussia Dortmund. And he would officially sign a Borussia Dortmund. He would sign a 4-year deal with Borussia Dortmund that would start in 2010-2011 in his age 21 season. In Robert Lewandowski's first season at Dortmund, in his age 21 season, the season where he wore number 7, he would start 15 of the 33 games in a season where Dortmund would actually go on to win the Bundesliga for the first time since 2002. So, of course, that was really big. This was the season where Lucas Barrios was the leading scorer. This was also the year where they ended up getting knocked out in group stage of the Europa League. But of course, Robert Lewandowski, very instrumental in this season itself. He would finish with 8 goals and an assist in his very first Bundesliga season. Not to mention he had a goal in a Europa League game. So of course, he was starting to get it. He was starting to do what was asked of him at Borussia Dortmund, but of course, following that season, the club would ask for more, and starting then, he really would. I mean, up through his age 21 season, or up until, I guess by then, he would have been 22 going into his next year. He really had established himself as a player that could most definitely be a long-time starter for a big-time club, after, of course, being one of the most dominant young scorers in Polish soccer history. In his second season at Borussia Dortmund, his age 22 season in 2011-2012, he would start all 34 games in the Bundesliga. He would play for in a season where, of course, Borussia Dortmund would repeat as champions, something Dortmund hasn't done since 1996, and actually since 2011-2012, Borussia Dortmund has not won the Bundesliga since. Actually, Bayern Munich has been the only Bundesliga champion, but I digress. In his second season in the Bundesliga, Robert Lewandowski would finish with 22 goals and 7 assists, which is the most amount of goals and assists that he'd ever put together in a domestic league. And of course, after doing so, he would go home. He would not go home with the Golden Boot yet, but he would go home with the most goals in the DFB Pokal, which is the German, the domestic cup. And they would go on to win the domestic cup as well, as they ended up losing in the group stage for Champions League, which kept them from winning the treble. But they would go on to win the double in the country, which is the first time that Borussia Dortmund has actually been able to do so in club history. They were able to do so with Robert Lewandowski taking the helm. So, of course, that was very big for them. Outside of that, in the Pokal, like I said, he finished with 7 goals in the 6 matches he played. In the 6 Champions League games he played, he had a goal and 2 assists. So, of course, that was his debut season in the Champions League. And then in the DFL Super Cup, he would end up playing. And like I said, they would end up taking home the German Cup, but not the Super Cup that year. That was Robert Lewandowski's second whole season in Dortmund, just to get a sense of what he was doing, like just the name recognition he had built up for himself. His third season in Borussia Dortmund was in 2012-2013, his age 23 season. In his age 23 season in the Bundesliga, he would start 29 of the 31 games he would play in a season where Dortmund finished as the runners-up for the very first time that he was there. In the Bundesliga itself, he finished with 24 goals and 5 assists, as once again he finished just short of being the leading scorer in the Bundesliga yet again, but of course finishing with 24 goals and 5 assists. That's the most goals he'd ever put up in a season for Borussia Dortmund. And also in the Pokal, I mean, he would he would finish with a goal and an assist as Dortmund got bounced in the quarterfinals, so they were not able to take home the trophy in that. Their only chance at trophies were one in the Super Cup, where they ended up losing to Bayern, but they also faced Bayern in the Champions League final, and after losing to them for the Bundesliga title, Bayern would eventually go on to win the DFB Pokal, which would be the double, and then Bayern would end up beating Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League final, so they became the runners-up in that as well. And Robert Lewandowski's Champions League season, he will go on to finish with 10 goals and 2 assists. So, of course, this will be the first season in which he put up double-digit goals in Champions League. So, of course, very big season for him. As, of course, with Borussia Dortmund, he had proved that he was one of the best, if not the best, striker in Germany at the time. Following that, he would come back for his fourth and final season with Borussia Dortmund in 2013-2014, which would be his age 24-25 season. In that 2013-14, he would start 31 to 33 games that he would play in a season where Borussia Dortmund would finish as the runners-up in the Bundesliga for the second year in a row. They finished up as the runners-up in the Pokal to Bayern Munich. They lost to them there. They did win the Super Cup this year, but they did end up losing in the qualifier. Taking it league by league in the Bundesliga. In his final Bundesliga season with Dortmund, Robert Lewandowski would finish with 20 goals and 8 assists. That's the most goals he's ever put up in a domestic league, even to date. Not to mention that in 2013-14, he would take home the Golden Boot in the Bundesliga, the most goals in Germany, for the very first time in his career. So, of course, that went down. Not to mention that in the Pokal, he would finish with 2 goals. He finished with 6 goals and 2 assists in his Champions League season as they got bounced at the very end. Following that season, Robert Lewandowski was actually picked up by Bayern Munich off of a free transfer window. So following then, he will go and join his sworn enemies, and from then a legacy was really cemented at Bayern. In his very first season in 2014-2015, Robert Lewandowski would go on to start 28 of the 38 matchups he would play for a Bayern Munich team that will go on to, of course, win the Bundesliga. They would finish first in the Bundesliga itself. Robert Lewandowski would finish with 17 goals and 5 assists. In his very first season in Bayern colors. He would not go on to take home the Golden Boot, but regardless, in the DFB Pokal, Bayern Munich would go on to finish they finished in the semifinals as they got bounced early for that. In the semifinal round, Robert Lewandowski, or in the Pokal, he finished with 2 goals and an assist. In the Champions League, they would go all the way to the semifinals, and they would get bounced in the semifinal round. When that Champions League run, Lewandowski would finish with 6 goals and a couple of assists himself. After his first season with Bayern, he would come back for his age 26 season in 2015-2016. In 2015-16, he would go on to start 29 of the 32 games he would play for a Bayern team that won the Bundesliga title yet again under Pep for the second year since Robert had been there. And at this point, this would have been the 4th straight year in which Bayern Munich had won the Bundesliga title. In the Bundesliga season, Robert Lewandowski would score 30 goals in the Bundesliga for the very first time he would ever do so in his career. He did it alongside 2 assists. So, of course, this would go down as a virtuoso season in the books for Robert Lewandowski, the dude that took over Polish scoring. Not to mention that in the Pokal, Bayern Munich would end up winning that title as well. In the Pokal, he finished with 3 goals in the 6 matches he played. In the Champions League, Bayern Munich would end up getting bounced in the semifinals round for the 3rd year in a row, for the 2nd year in a row since Robert Lewandowski had been there, just to give a sense of what Bayern Munich was up to. And just for more context, This was the season in which Real Madrid beat Atletico Madrid in the Champions League final. In Robert Lewandowski's 2015-16 Champions League run, he finished with 9 goals and an assist in 12 games. Following that season, Robert Lewandowski would eventually play with Poland at the Euros for the second time in his career. In 2012, Poland had the worst standing in their group stage table, and they got bounced. In 2016, they were able to make it through alongside Germany and Northern Ireland as they advanced to the knockout phase. In this group stage matchup, they would end up, or I guess in group stage, they would beat Northern Ireland, draw with Germany, and beat Ukraine to go into the knockout phase. They would end up drawing with Switzerland, and Robert Lewandowski would make his penalty kick as it went to penalty rounds. They would make it to quarterfinals. They would end up drawing with Portugal in the quarterfinals of the 2016 Euros, where Levy got Poland's only goal of the game in the second minute. But they would end up losing in penalty kicks as Lewandowski made his. Portugal made all 5 of theirs. So that is, of course, how Poland got bounced in the quarterfinals of the Euros of 2016. Following that summer, Robert Lewandowski would come back to Bayern for what would be his 3rd season there, and for what would be his 7th season in the Bundesliga. In 2016-17, his age 27 season, he would start 31 of the 33 games that he would play in a season where Bayern Munich would go on to finish with the Bundesliga title for the 5th year in a row. This would be the only trophy in terms of that they would take home this season. They would also go on to take home the German Super Cup as well. So, of course, that would be the second time that Robert Lewandowski has been able to do so in a Bayern uniform. But regardless, looking back into what he was able to do in the Bundesliga season itself, he finished with 30 goals and 5 assists. The second season in a row, he had 30 Bundesliga goals. Not to mention that he would go down as the leading scorer in the Bundesliga. Or I guess this year he wasn't because it was Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. But the previous year in 15-16, he would take home his 2nd Golden Boot title. This year he wouldn't. In the DFB Pokal, in which Bayern Munich would fall just short, losing in the semifinals, Lewandowski would finish with 5 goals in the 4 matchups he played with 2 assists. So, of course, he was definitely contributing there as well. And in the Champions League, they would end up getting bounced in the quarterfinals, and this would be the year where Real Madrid would end up beating Juventus in the finals. Robert Lewandowski would finish with 8 goals and an assist in the 9 matches he played in that run to the Champions League final. So that would pretty much explain what happened that season. Following that season, he would go on to play his 4th season at Bayern Munich to match what he had done at Dortmund. In his age 28 season in 2017-2018, he would go on to start 24 of the 30 matchups that he would play for a Bayern Munich team that would go on to finish with the best record in the Bundesliga yet again. In 2018, this would go on to be the 7th straight year, this was the 5th straight year in which they were able to win the Bundesliga. This would be the 6th straight time they were able to win the Bundesliga in a row. In the season itself, Robert Lewandowski would finish with 29 goals and 2 assists. Yet another season in which he finished with a crazy amount of goals. In 2017-2018, he was given the Golden Boot for being the highest scorer in the Bundesliga. This is the 3rd time in his career he would take home that title. Once Bayern Munich made it to the Pokal final, they would end up losing and becoming runners-up in 2017-2018. Robert Lewandowski would finish with 6 goals in the 6 matches that he would play. This was the year that they ended up losing to Frankfurt in the final. And then once they made it to the Champions League, they would end up losing in the semifinal. And this would be the season where Real Madrid beat Liverpool in the Champions League final. In the Champions League run, Lewandowski finished with 5 goals and an assist in the 11 matches he played. At the conclusion of the season, with the only trophy he had he ended up taking home being his Bundesliga in his fourth season there. He would go on to play with Poland at the World Cup for the very first time that Poland had made the FIFA World Cup since 2006. However, they would lose all of the matchups they lost their first group stage matchups before winning their third, just to give a sense of how Poland fared in those matchups. And following their group stage exit with Robert Lewandowski leading the helm at captain, he would go on to help lead Bayern Munich in his fifth season there, in his age 29 season in 2018-2019. In the Bundesliga, he would start all 33 of the games that he would play in a season where Bayern would finish with the Bundesliga title for what would be the seventh year in a row. So, of course, that was an impressive, one of the more impressive feats that anyone has ever seen in soccer. In 2018-19, Robert Lewandowski would finish with 22 goals and 7 assists, which is pretty much which of the goals and assists he actually mirrored in his first full season as a starter at Borussia Dortmund. So, of course, great season for him as, like I said, Bayern Munich would finish at the very top. So that was another trophy that Lewandowski could add to his collection. In the DFB Pokal, or the domestic tournament, they would go on to win that tournament. So he would go on to take home the double. The second time he had actually done so while at Bayern Munich. So, of course, that was a big win for him. And then in the Pokal itself, he would finish with 7 goals and 2 assists in the 5 matches he played. In the Champions League, Bayern Munich would end up getting bounced in the round of 16 by Liverpool. And in that season, he would finish with 8 goals in the 8 matches he played. So, of course, he had a pretty good stretch for Bayern Munich as it ran out. And then that would lead into what would be Robert Lewandowski's probably most... I guess it would be his most trophy-heavy season of his career, especially because it was a season that dealt with the that dealt with the coronavirus in a way that kind of robbed him of earning a Ballon d'Or. But regardless, the season was not canceled. The end was delayed. However, it shortened their off-season. But regardless, they would go on to finish the season. In Robert Lewandowski's age 30 season in 2019-2020, where he turned 31, he would score 34 goals and add 4 assists in all 31 of the games, where Bayern Munich would go on to, of course, win the Bundesliga for the 8th year in a row. For the 3rd time that Lewandowski had been there, and for the 2nd year in a row, Bayern Munich had won the DFB Pokal. In the DFB Pokal, the German tournament, he would go on to score 6 goals in the 5 matches he played. So, of course, he would go on to do that thing as well. Not to mention that he also did go on to lead the Bundesliga in scoring in 2019. He led the Bundesliga in scoring in 2020 to win his 3rd consecutive Golden Boot and what would be his 4th Golden Boot in a span of 5 years. The only reason he didn't win in 5 years straight was because Aubameyang had an insane year at Borussia Dortmund. Of course, Levy would go on to lead all scorers in the DFB Pokal for the 3rd straight year as well. He led it, or for the 4th year in a row, as he did it in 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. And when Bayern Munich would go on to make the Champions League final, they would go all the way to the end, and Robert Lewandowski would help them win the title. In the 10 matches he played, he finished with 15 goals and 5 assists. He had more assists in the Champions League than he had in his 31-game Bundesliga season. And his 15 goals would actually give him the Champions League lead. That's the only time in his career he's led the Champions League in goal scoring, and his 15 goes up with one of the best in history, considering how it was shortened, how the fact that they didn't play legs for the quarterfinals or the semifinals I believe they had it in the round of 16, but that's it. But yeah, since you were missing those extra legs, the fact that he was able to score 15 goals is basically insane. But of course, that would help them win yet another trophy. And after they won that trophy, they would win the UEFA Super Cup, which is the game that's played between the Champions League winner and the Europa League winner. And in that matchup, they faced off against Sevilla and took home that trophy. They would go and win the German Super Cup, which is, of course, the season that starts the next German year. And because they won the UEFA Super Cup, they won the FIFA Club World Cup. And also, while he was winning those Club World Cups in 2020, he would go on to be named the best FIFA men's player. He was named the UEFA Best Men's Player in Europe. But because the season was affected for all leagues, France said that they were not going to issue out the Ballon d'Or. So Robert Lewandowski, because of a technicality, was not given the Ballon d'Or, but he was basically given almost every other trophy you could ask for. And then when Bayern went to play in Qatar for the FIFA Club World Cup, they would end up winning. They beat Tigres, the North American champion. And so that would conclude Robert Lewandowski's incredible 2019-2020 campaign. And then this leads us square into his last complete season that he played with Bayern, his age 31 season in 2020-2021, which of course would go down as his seventh season with Bayern Munich. And in his seventh season with Bayern Munich, he started 28 of the 29 games that he would play, in a season where Bayern Munich would win their seventh title with Robert Lewandowski at the helm, but their ninth straight title as a team with no fans in the building, might I add. That was the only trophy they were actually able to win, as they were bounced in the second round of the Pokal and they were bounced in the quarterfinal of the Champions League. First starting in the Bundesliga, because this is the season where he became a GOAT, because he did win all those trophies in between then and now. So, of course, that's a big part of the reason, but that solely wasn't it. In 2020, 2021, he would finish with 41 goals, which is a Bundesliga record. He would break the great Gerd Muller's record while Gerd Muller was still alive. Gerd Muller passed about a week ago. And then he was also able to finish with 7 assists, which is tied with 2019 and 2012 for the second most assists he's ever put up in a season. He would also finish with, of course, 8 penalty kick goals, the most penalty kick goals he'd ever put together in a season. He would end up breaking Gerd Muller's record, or at least tying it on a penalty kick. He would score his 40th goal. So, of course, good game for great season for Robert Lewandowski, as it would come down to his very last shot attempt of the Bundesliga season, and a season where he was injured, to help him break Gerd Muller's record for Gerd Muller to actually be able to witness it. And outside of the Bundesliga season, in the Pokal, he was not able to finish with a goal in the one game he played. In Champions League, Bayern Munich would eventually get bounced by PSG in the quarterfinals. In the 6 matchups he played, he ended up with 5 wins. So that would be his season. The only the trophies he took home being, of course, the Bundesliga title. He would also take home the Golden Boot for the Bundesliga for what would then be the 4th year in a row and the 5th time in 6 years. And his 6th time in his career, especially doing so in the Bundesliga, 7th time doing so for the top league in the country, because let's not forget that he did so in his last season in Poland. So that currently leads us to the Euros 2020 in the 2021 offseason that, of course, had to be played then because they got delayed due to COVID. And in this Euros, they would get bounced in group stages. They ended up drawing 1 and they lost 2 of them. Lewandowski would score a goal in the second game of Euros in the 54th minute, and he scored 2 goals in the in the third game against Sweden. He scored in the 61st and 84th minutes, as those goals weren't enough. But that is how Poland's season ended there. And, of course, that leads us to where we are with Robert Lewandowski in Bayern Munich's season right now, as he is entering his age 32 season, where he currently turns 33 today. Robert Lewandowski has only started one matchup for Bayern Munich. He's played one game, and in that game, Bayern Munich was able to draw with Borussia Mönchengladbach. So right now they are sitting 8th in the Bundesliga right now. But just to get a quick look at what Robert Lewandowski is actually up to, he and Bayern Munich are, like I said, they're sitting in the very middle of the Bundesliga. They're set to face off against Cologne tomorrow. So, of course, that'll be a lot to look forward to there. But, of course, this continues the legacy of Robert Lewandowski. Of course, this is not the end point. This is just where we are right now. And it's just such a storied career that it's just interesting to see that this was the year in which his career has taken off from elite to GOAT. And I think this is probably one of the best reasons that I'm doing the elite profiles year by year, just to see just like 1 year growth on the scale of a Robert Lewandowski. With that said, I want to thank the Football Reference websites, Wikipedia, FIFA websites, for giving me the facts and figures that I needed to do this episode. I of course want to thank everyone for listening to all 30 minutes. If you ever get a chance to watch Robert Lewandowski, please do. He wears number 9 for Bayern Munich and for the Polish national team. And not to mention, this is, like I said, I want to wish Robert Lewandowski a happy 33rd birthday. This is probably one of the best players. I even saw him live. I got a chance to watch him live when they played against Union Berlin in 2019 when I was studying abroad in Germany. He is on his way to being, if not the best already, the best player that has ever played in the Bundesliga. He's most definitely making Poland proud. He's making his family proud. And I can't wait to see what he does for this year. I want to thank everyone once again for listening to all 31 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. And like I said, if you get a chance to watch Robert Lewandowski, please do. He is more than an elite player. He is a GOAT. He is one of the greatest players to ever play. He is definitely the greatest Polish player to play ever. But slowly and surely, he is checking off boxes to put him alongside Jared as two of the best strikers that Bayern has ever had. Thanks once again for listening to my piece. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another episode of The Elite after this. Peace out.